Yep, my first Gravity Falls vlog. I figure since, they don't air these episodes too often and I'm caught up in the show, I figure why not? And sometimes I have different views than Doug, and also I just love this show. So, well, sometimes, but, and we get my drift. And also Doug's putting out his vlog tomorrow, so I wanted to get this out now before Doug Walker puts out his and overshadows it. Anyway, I digress. This is the Northwest Mansion Mystery. In this episode, they're jumping strange in Pacifica's hood. Who we gonna call? Dipper. That's where I'm going. Although, maybe Pacifica should be one of the female Ghostbusters. Anyway, I digress. So, basically, there's a ghost haunting Pacifica's house, so she calls in Dipper to investigate it because they're having a party and they don't want people to come. So Dipper shows up, he catches the ghost, then finds out he was only haunting them because, he helped build the mansion originally, and then, after all the hard work, they refused to let him in, and he got killed by a mudslide, and he swore that if they didn't let people in, he would come back and haunt them in 150 years, and essentially they were just using Dipper to get rid of what's-his-face. And, at first, I didn't know what to make of it. I mean, not at first when I saw it, but, when it started up, I didn't know what to make of it, because the intro was shorter, but then Alex Hirsch, we do that when we want to do a big episode, so we have time for the story, and it worked out, because, man, Alex Hirsch delivered a great episode, possibly my favorite, because, wow, this episode was amazing. So, and again, Rebels, a show that's very cliche, generic, not a lot of likable original characters. Here's a show that's not only unpredictable, has likable characters and an engaging story. And also, great use of Kevin Michael Richardson as the ghost. So anyway, let's start off with perhaps the biggest thing in this episode, which, in addition to just having, a fun little mystery episode where, they catch the ghost, halfway through, so then you're wondering what because it's fun, because it's, they capture the ghost halfway through the episode, so you're wondering where's the rest of the episode, because we still have 10 minutes left, so you're wondering where they're going to go. And what I like about it is that this episode, it's a lot of things, but it's major character development for Dipper and Pacifica. I was never that big a fan of the Wendy Dipper romance because it was clearly established that she wasn't into him, and that Wendy's way too old for him, so it was really annoying to see him constantly flirting with Wendy. And, they were never going to wind up together. It was like Finn and Bubblegum from Adventure Time, except, whereas that, they at least, alluded to the possibility that it could work. Here, it's very clear it's not going to work. So, I was so happy when they broke up because, it was the show, moving on, addressing it, because if they had dragged that out, it would have been annoying. But another thing I wanted, in addition with them just getting past the whole Wendy thing, was to just come up with, a potential love interest for Dipper that's actually his age. And, they could have brought in, written in a new character just to be Dipper's love interest, like they did for Adventure Time with Flame Princess. But what I found really interesting and surprising was rather than do that, they took an existing character in the form of Pacifica and started laying the foundation for a relationship. And I was never that big a fan of Pacifica on the show, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that she was the stereotypical cool girl and Mabel's rival, and it just got really old. But what I love about this episode, and not only that, but this show, specifically this season, they seem to be really fleshing her out, really just making her more than just a stereotype. She has a personality, they're explaining she's the way she is because that's the way her parents raised her. She's starting to think for herself. She's becoming more of an interesting character as opposed to this one-note, flat-dimensional character, which is boring. It's more interesting when you do something like this, and they're starting to just... I think Pacifica's going to wind up joining the group at some point. And if not this season, then definitely next season, assuming they get renewed. And I also liked it was good just establishing them as friendship. Like, I mean, the golf episode did it, but this episode really did. I mean, like, there's the bit where she hugs him and then she's like, I'm going to pay you $10 to pretend that never happened. Or I think that's what she did. But, and while I'm watching, I'm like, yeah, they kind of make a good couple. Like, I'm serious. Like, it's the exact opposite. Like, usually I'm against, like, this is one of the few times when there's a romance on a show and I'm actually all for it. Like, again, I didn't care for Wendy's romance, but the way they're doing the Dipper and Pacifica romance, I am just all for it. It's like, wow, it's like wonderful. And, you know, it would have been fine if they had just done a fun mystery episode, but they did an episode fleshing out Pacifica, and which had beautiful animation, by the way, and a fun villain. But not only did they do that, but they fleshed out Pacifica. But beyond that, they also advanced the main story. And I say "and" a lot, don't I? You know, they throw this huge thing at us. They give us a big reveal about what the triangle guy was talking about, what the computer was talking about. It's this huge, like, holy shit moment. Like, the apocalypse is coming. And that's what I love about the show. It's like, it gives you these fun standalone episodes in addition to the main story. It's like, you're so caught up in the ride that you're not willing to, as interested as you are in the main story, it's not what's keeping you coming. What's keeping you coming is the characters and the humor. And the icing on the cake is this big mystery. It's not like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1 where they just kept playing up the mystery. It's like, the journey there was fun too. And by giving us a great episode, it gets me excited for the next one, which unfortunately is like, comes out in a month. And the countdown on the laptop corresponds with the next episode, so how many days there are until the next episode, so I wonder if that was planned out. But either way, it gets you excited. One, because you're curious to see where this whole main story is going. And also because it's dealing with the apocalypse. And I'm really curious to see, like, how all this factors in. And that's the one downside of the show, is that there's major gaps in between episodes. Like, it's not like once a week we get an episode. It's like every month or few weeks we get an episode, which is a bummer, but, I mean, for the most part, they pay off. What was really surprising about this episode was Dipper. Like, I really was invested in Dipper's story this episode. I'm usually not a big fan of Dipper. He's the straight guy. He's the least interesting. And ironically enough, I did not care about Mabel's story. I mean, I enjoy Mabel. She's like one of my favorite. She's tied with Grunkle Stan for my favorite character. Over fun and quirky personality. But surprisingly here, I didn't care for it. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it was basically more the same. It was a guy, and she's in love with him, has a crush on him, she wants to get him, knows him. And it's been funny like the first couple times, but it's starting to get really repetitive and original, and they really didn't do anything this time to make it feel unique from the other crushes. I mean, outside of Grenda getting him, but I don't know. Like, I'm starting to feel like they're overdoing it. Because it's ironic. Usually Mabel's like my favorite part of the episode, but here she was like the weaker part. But yeah, like, so kudos to the show for actually making Dipper somewhat interesting, and I really hope this keeps up. I mean, I really hope Dipper continues to get better. I mean, from Wendy to this to Pacifica, like, this show's just getting better and better. And this, one of the best episodes of the season, this might be one of, if not my favorite episode. And it was so amazing that it wasn't until after it that I realized that this was the first episode where we didn't see Seuss or Grunkle Stan, and specifically Grunkle Stan, since he's like he's one of my favorite characters. So the fact that you did an entire episode where he did not appear, and I was still engaged, loved it, and said it's one of my favorites, I think is really impressive. So yeah, so after sitting through a not-so-impressive Disney XD show, Rebels, it's wonderful to go back to Gravity Falls, and I'm just so bummed that I have to wait like a month to see the next episode. So what did you think of this week's Gravity Falls? Did you love it? Did you hate it? comment below and let me know. And as always, like, dislike, comment, subscribe, yada 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 yada. And this is JStar360 signing out. Until next time, take care.